This is my LUT1 presentation. The NFL has drastically changed over the years from its roots as a running game to the passing game that it is today. It has grown from a league that hardly passed at all and had no quarterback into a game where teams must have an elite quarterback to be competitive. Research suggests that the NFL has changed from a running league to a passing league because of rule changes instituted by the league and its owners. In this presentation, we will take a look at some of the rule changes and enforcements that have changed the nature of football. There was a time in the early football days when there was no specified quarterback. The 20s and 30s saw very little passing, and anyone in the backfield could end up throwing the ball. It wasn't until the 40s that teams started using a specified player at the quarterback position. From that time through the 60s, the passing game grew into one that saw quarterbacks just heave the ball downfield and hope for the best. It certainly was not the precise passing attack that we see in modern times. Into the 70s, defenses were getting bigger and stronger, and the passing game was dying. From then on, there were certain rule changes that drastically changed how the game is played. Now, I've graphed out the average passing yards of the top 20 quarterbacks in the league for each season, starting in 1966, otherwise known as the Super Bowl era. As seen here, the average was steadily declining and hit a low of 1,751 yards in 1973. Since then, with the exception of the occasional down year, that's a number that has steadily risen to where it is today, which has completely doubled what it used to be. Now for questions. Now, what rule change in 1978 caused the spike in passing yards? Well, starting with the 1978 season, defenders could no longer rough up receivers past 5 yards from the line of scrimmage. This newfound freedom made it much easier for receivers to get open to catch passes. Just 7 years after the low mark, 1973, here in 1980, those averages had nearly doubled, and a high water mark was set that would last until 1995. Now what happened in 2004 to cause the next high water mark? After a 2003 season playoff game when the Patriots defeated the Colts, the president of the Colts, Bill Polian, complained loudly to the league that pass interference wasn't being enforced strongly enough. While not a rule change, it was a change in how the rule was enforced. The receivers now had even more freedom, and the average passing yards went up yet again. What happened in the past few years that have caused the average yards to go up even more? Concussions and protecting the quarterback have become a major concern for the NFL. Roughing the quarterback is being called a lot more now, so the quarterback can effectively stand in the pocket more easily while waiting on an open receiver. Those receivers are even more protected now because of the new concussion rules. Personal fouls are being called much more often for hits to the head, so defenders have to be much more careful with how they hit the receivers. As a result of this, receivers can roam more freely without fear of being hit so hard. These latest rule changes have seen new high water marks set in 2008, 2009, 2011, and 2012. The last 2 years have seen that average top 4,000 yards for the first time in history. Now, in conclusion, the rule changes and enforcements discussed here have drastically changed the way the game of football is played. 1978, 2004, and modern times have each seen rule changes that have increased passing yards in the league. It doesn't appear this trend will end either. The way the league is going with safety now, those numbers will most likely continue to rise in the future. Thank you. This has been my presentation.